Hey everybody, welcome to episode 5. So the other day we completed the voyage from Tarpon Springs to Key West. This was a 350-mile journey that took us by places like Clearwater, St. Pete, Sarasota, Venice, Sanibel, Naples, Marco Island, the Everglades, and then finally the Keys. Although our travels are often pretty entertaining, episode 5 just consists of a few random and mostly spontaneous images we were able to grab along the way. So let's get into it. Tarpon Springs is the area that we landed after the overnight Gulf crossing. It's a pretty interesting and colorful town. Although it was settled in 1870, things really started to happen 35 years later in 1905 when sponge divers from Greece showed up. The Greek have had a big influence on the town since. This is the image of a dive trawler with sponges drying on the bow. There's also a big Greek culinary presence in Tarpon Springs, and one of the most famous is Hella's Bakery and Restaurant. Note the dive helmet to the right side of the fountain, giving homage to the Greek sponge divers. This is an anchorage that we stayed at just outside of St. Pete. It just kind of shows that we're not always anchoring out in remote locations. We actually were able to take the dinghy over to the wall over there and go look for the local grocery store we thought was there. But then after wandering about for about 30 minutes, a local told us that the grocery store had burned down about a year ago. So crab pots are a constant thorn in our side, constantly on the lookout for them, hoping that I don't run over one and get the line tangled up in my props. Well, one morning we woke up and we were lucky enough to catch a crab fisherman, or as they're known locally, crabber, in the line of duty. We always thought that they were supposed to, sort through the crabs, throw away the smaller ones, things like that. But it looks like he doesn't do that. He just dumps them all. He dumps the entire cage into his boat and then reloads bait into the cage and then drops the cage back in the water. And you see the pelicans there. They're just looking for any scrap, man. Just throw me a scrap is all they want. That same morning, caught an exercise class for the locals. So I put this image on Instagram, but you can see those clouds rolling in there, that cold front. These are supposed to be 25 to 27 mile an hour winds. So far our anchor is holding. However, it is, you know, feels a little weird. I think we're thankful that it's daytime and we can see what's going on. If this was nighttime, boy, it would probably feel a lot more chaotic. We lost a solar panel when the winds first kicked up, but I tied it to the back of the boat, so at least it's not going to go any further. This can't be good. Okay, here's the situation now. Those clouds brought in some pretty high winds. I'm talking 32 miles per hour with gusts up to 38 miles per hour. So I was concerned if the anchor was going to hold, and it did. The anchor held fine. It might have moved probably 5 feet, but we didn't go crashing into any of those mangroves back there. But what did happen is the anchor bridle broke. So that rope coming off the cleat right there goes down and connects to the anchor. There's another one on this side, and I've rigged this thing up here, but the rope from this side down to the anchor broke, and this is what I'm left with. So after a little trial and error, I rigged up that line right there because I couldn't get it all the way down to where that other line is. So I tied that to that, tied it around metal loop there, and a little bit bigger piece of rope, and then it goes back to this cleat and it's tied off. So we got to get a new anchor bridle. You can hear it pulling, man. That rope's really pulling on that cleat. The winds are still pretty strong. They're not 32, more like probably 22, but they should die down by about 7, but it'll be dark by then. What's happening here? Anyway, what was happening is this chain with just that one rope on there that goes out to that, every time the boat swung that way, this chain was coming off of here and hanging off on the side and pulling this whole thing over. So the idea for this was to just kind of hold the chain in a more center position. It's not good for this whole setup for it to take a big giant tug with the wind. The boat weighs 35,000 pounds, and when the wind's blowing 32 miles an hour, gusting to 38,
it puts a lot of pressure on this windlass as well as this whole rail here. It just shoves it left and right. So that's why we use a bridle, to keep this from breaking right off the boat. But we'll see how it goes. Like I said, the winds are going to die down by 7 o'clock quite a bit, and then certainly by 10 o'clock they're supposed to be down to 16 miles an hour, which is still a lot, but considering the boat was able to manage 32 mile per hour winds with a broken rope, I think we'll be all right. We'll be all right. More later, I'm sure. Here's something worth mentioning. You see that solar panel right there? There's supposed to be a solar panel on the other side over here. As you can see, it's not there. Where is it, you say? It is hanging off right back here. Those 32 mile an hour winds just ripped it right off the top of the boat. So I put some zip ties on it to keep it from going any further, but I think in the morning when the winds died down, I'll get back up there and try to put that back on the roof. Dang, man, those are some strong winds. All right, here's our anchorage for the evening. That over there is Sanibel Island. Fort Myers is over that way. There's another boat over there, big ass boat right there anchored out. And then this is called York Island. So this is supposed to be protecting us from the wind, but as you can see, the wind is not coming from the direction that was forecast. It was forecast from the northeast, which was about there. And you can see how it's just whipping across the screen here. So it's coming more from like the east or southeast. Yeah. And sunset. Anyway, here's my bridle rigged up until I can buy a new one. Got two separate ropes, one coming from there, going to the anchor chain, one coming from there, going to the anchor chain. You hear that creaking? That cleat is doing all the work. It's supposed to be 21 mile an hour gusts tonight, so hopefully I can get some sleep. That shit stresses me out. Okay, here we are, day 2 at Sanibel Island. It's still pretty windy. I don't know if y'all can make heads or tails out of these waves that are rolling in. But they're enough. They're enough to make the boat rock pretty good, which gets to be annoying. There's York Island. Water's a little low right now. High tide will be this afternoon. It pulled the anchor up. I mean, it pulled the chain up to the water. At least the ropes are working. I don't know if you can see that big ass boat in front of us that's anchored out overnight. Island. Oh, I know what I was going to show. I was going to show you a crab pot. If I could get this thing to zoom in, we'd be in business. Anyway, maybe we'll have better luck back here. see it. That's an example of a crab pot, and there's a line of them all the way across over there. Okay, let's see if I can find these crab pots here. So that's a good point there. They're so hard to see because they're small. But here's one right here. Wendy's talking to me in the background, like she always says. So there's one, and then there's another one over here somewhere. It's so sunny out here, I can't see anything. And windy. I promise there's another one out there. Right out there. There it is. There's that little bastard. There's that little bastard right there. And then there's that big boat. Anyway, let's look at the crab pots in the back. There's another one in the back. There it is. Crab pot. Let's check the other side. Here's one on the other side, and then there's a line of them. There's another one. The boat's swinging pretty bad because of the wind, but trust me, there's about a line of 4 or 5 of them out here. And it doesn't help that I'm filming this through the vinyl. Anyway, crab pots suck.
Watch out for the wave. So here, yeah. So here, Wendy and I were going to see Mallory and Austin, who were on Captiva Island, and really the only way to get there was to take this dinghy 9 miles to their house. So there were a lot of people on the boat that day, on the water that day, I'm sorry. And you can see in the distance, there's some jet skis out there, a whole group of them, and at one point it looks like they're just coming right at us. So the next day, I took the dinghy back to the boat by myself just to check on the boat, make sure everything was all right. And you'll see up right there, there's a dolphin. You'll see a dolphin in the center of the screen there here in a second. Right there. Almost missed it because I was watching the chart on my phone. And by the way, some of these images, you can see that thing in the top of the image window there. That's the brim of my hat. Wendy bought me some Meta glasses for Christmas that I can take pictures and video and ask questions and whatnot. So yeah, they're super cool. I have to do a better job of making my hat not be in the image, right?
Everglades currently. This is our second night down here in the Everglades. We're in a different spot. But we're in a river. It's called the Little Shark River. And that's upriver. And then that's the Gulf over there. So the thing about tonight is, well, not tonight, tomorrow there's supposed to be a cold front come through, and it's supposed to bring some gale force winds, which depends on the weather service that you check, but it could be gusts as high as 40 or even as high as 55 miles an hour. So the advantage to this spot is not that bird, but that the wind will be coming from that direction to that direction, right about there. So these trees are taller than our boat by a little bit, so they should protect the boat from the wind. And by being in this river off the Gulf, we shouldn't get a lot of waves rolling in here, bouncing us to death, since the wind is coming from that way. So we'll follow up on Sunday. Tell you how it went. If we survived it. See you then.
You can see we got a little close to the mangroves, and the problem is when the tide goes out, we could be sitting in the mud, so we gotta move.
It's Sunday. We survived those wicked winds. But it's low tide right now. Got your phone. We're not moving, it's just the water rushing by. Anchor bridle, anchor chain, anchor bridle. And it's low tide right now, so this is some wicked low water. There's an inlet right there. You can see it's usually a lot more water in there than that. And there's another inlet there. It's the other side of the bank. Water must have dropped 5 feet. There's another inlet. Look at dry. Another inlet. Pretty dry. And our exit, the Gulf. We'll leave tomorrow. It's freaking cold out here, man. It's like 40 something. It's not Indiana cold, but it sucks just the same. Okay, here we are, same spot. The only difference is now we're at minor high tide. So the tide has come in, and you can see that. I don't know, the sun is in my face. Hopefully you can see that cutout there is full of water. And then there's another cutout here. Hopefully you can see this because the sun is in my face. One cutout. One cutout. There's the Gulf. And then in the front of the boat, don't kill yourself. Front of the boat, there's the bridle, right? See the water coming in. Chain, bridle. And then there were some cutouts over there. They were dry earlier, but now they're fully booked. That last video, there was a lot of mud on the shoreline. Now you can't even see that. And like I said, this is a minor high tide, so there are two high tides. One is right now, and then the water level will drop maybe by a foot, and then by midnight or so it'll go up another couple feet, and that's upriver up there. And there's dolphins out here playing around, but of course I'm never going to get them on video.
Okay, where's Arabella? I know those boats all look the same, but our boat's in there somewhere. This was our spot while we were in Key West. We were here for the month of February. We had some family come out, so we needed a spot that we could hang out while folks came out to visit. This was a pretty good spot, I gotta say. Everything in Florida is pretty expensive, but I guess it's worth it. We were able to see a manatee actually in the marina we were in up by the dock. And interesting thing here is that um, if you one of the locals started squirting the manatee with water from the hose, and the manatee turned around onto its back, as you can see, and started drinking the the fresh water from the hose. Apparently, um, manatees need to drink that fresh water. I don't know how they get it when they're in seawater, salt water, but there you go. Kind of cool, right?
You would think, we're waterboarding this poor manatee.
Now that you said that.
Oh.
Okay, so the next couple of minutes here are just images of the streets of Old Town Key West, courtesy of my meta glasses and my scooter. So up here on the left is a yellow awning right there. That's the world's smallest bar. finally, I leave you with some images from the southernmost beach. See you next time.